proposal. Our procedural rules for meetings provide for public comment during our scheduled regular meetings. Tonight is a special meeting that is called for the limited purpose of continuing the presentation and city council discussion from last week, as I mentioned before. Please be aware that there is not a public comment period for special meetings and that we are required to stay on the topic for which the meeting was called. I understand that there may be comments that occur to people in the audience or those watching the video of this meeting. Please save those comments for after the meeting or for a discussion by email or phone call at a later date. There will be regular city council meetings where public comments can be taken as well. Any one of us will be happy to talk outside of this meeting, but please understand that we need to respect the limited time allotted and the continuation of this presentation on the topic that it was called for. And I thank you, and we can go ahead and get started.
You have a roll call?
We can have a roll call, sure.
Mark?
Here.
Erica?
Here.
Jeremy?
Here.
Mike?
Here.
MC?
Yeah.
JJ?
And I guess, are you ready to start?
Justin has a previous engagement, will be here a little bit late. We'll talk about police and fire and
Okay.
first in his absence.
Please speak into the mic. Thank you.
Justin will be a little bit late today, and he had asked us if we wanted to go ahead and let police and fire begin their discussion.
Are you ready with yours, Chief?
Yeah. Do you have anything here? Do what? Okay.
Hang on, Chief. I'm gonna have to move my camera.
Okay. I'll just stand out of everybody's way, I bet I can. What Lieutenant Lawson's handing out there is, it's basically this presentation that we have. We put some numbers together of everything that's gonna be involved with this annexation as it pertains to the police department. Not taxes or anything like that, it's just the population versus how many police officers we have compared to that. So, with further ado, we'll start. The current population and projects that you see, Cave Springs' current population according to SafeWise. And SafeWise is that organization that ranks the cities the safest to the not so safe, and the one where we're actually the second safest city in the state. And we've held that top 5 ranking for several years. Been number 1 a couple of times. But anyway, SafeWise had found that there were 6,218 residents as of March of this year. So that's the number we're basing stuff off of. I know the census that was done in 2010 has a different number, but we all know that Allensville got finished out, Otter Creek's completely done now, and so that number obviously has gone up, and this is the best number we could get of what we currently have as of today. Cave Springs also has 2 major subdivision projects currently underway on this time. We have Hillcrest, which is off of over there by Brentwood, off of Ford, and Osage subdivision was Tekla Wallace's old place up here on 112. And the Osage subdivision is going to have 121 lots when they're done. That's a project that we already know is coming. It's happening. It's already in the city. We know it's coming. Plus 4 large commercial lots. So I don't know what's going to go in those commercial lots. Are they going to be little strip malls? Are they going to be a restaurant? I have no idea. And so we got to prepare for that. And Hillcrest is going to have 125 lots out there. So that's just projects that we know, that are coming, 100% sure that they're gonna be here. The current population and projects, those 246 homes will bring approximately 738 residents. That's based it on 3.5 people per household. I know the government says 2.57, but we went with 3.5. And the reason we went with 3.5, because I was talking with the Scissortail folks, and that's kind of their guesstimate up there of what they've got. And I think we're seeing more younger people that have children moving to the area, and so they're becoming the majority, so that's why we went with the 3.5. So that'd be an increase in population of 861 people with just the projects that we have, which will put us at over 7,000 people, which is an increase of 14%. Now the annexation area, and including the current projects up there. Scissortail subdivision has 279 lots. That's how many's up there. There's not 279 homes yet, I'll get to that in a minute. And then Evening Star subdivision has 95 lots. And I think there's only, what, 3-4 houses maybe under construction, possibly even 1 or 2 of them done. And then an additional 20 homes, we just guessed that, that's like, outside of Evening Star and Scissortail, the other parts of the annexation area, like, Hatchton Circle, which is currently in Rogers, there's 6 homes down there, right across from the, is that a daycare? Can someone, is that what that is? After school program up there. And then like Bart Hester's place and just different homes in that general area. So we just guessed at about 20. That'll give 394 homes once all those projects are completed. Now we know those projects aren't gonna be completed next week, next month. I mean, it's gonna take some time, but we have seen how fast some of these people can put up these homes and get them filled. The annexation area, including current projects, those 394 homes will bring approximately 1,379 people. And that's estimating the 3.5. The current population is 6,218, like we said. The increase in population just from the annexed area is gonna be 1,379 once it gets filled out and everybody moves in, which is a total increase of 22% of what we currently are. Current city annexation area, including current projects. Keith, you're gonna have to help me out with this one.
Okay, so when you look at the current annexation area, including the projects, and the current city projects,
Okay.
you're looking at 861 people that we know are gonna be coming into town, regardless of the annexation, okay? You also know that there's almost 1,400 people that if we annex that area, once it's built out, you're gonna have coming into town. That's a total of almost 2,500 people. So if the annexation goes through, when current projects in the city of Cave Springs are completed, and the current projects that are going on today in the annexation area are completed, our population will increase 36%.
Yep, you just, yeah.
So
some
that's
of them
like
will-
Allen's Mill.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, that's like Allen's Mill, like Allen's Mill phases.
So
that the current-
Allen's
is that-
Mill's phased out, or is completed. So once Osage is done,
Oh, and Hillcrest, that's
and
what you're talking
Hillcrest
about.
is done,
I'm sorry. Okay,
once,
No, you're-
once all of
Because that's-
Scissortail is complete, and once Evening Star is complete. Once those 4 subdivisions are completely done and filled, that's what our population
Now,
increase will be.
take into account also, if this annexation does not go through, we'll still have that subdivision north of Allen's Mill being built too, right? We didn't count that because if the annexation does go through, that'll be Rogers.
And
It won't even be us.
we're telling you all this because not only are we looking at what we're getting today, and we're kinda gonna get to that, but we want you guys to keep in mind that it's not just growing the city as far as the annexation area goes, but the city's been growing for some time, including Allen's Mill.
I mean, everybody knows that.
Even regardless of whether we take the annexation area in, we've got subdivisions that we are growing as a city anyway. So, we've got a plan for that, but this is kind of bumping our timeline around.
Right, I mean, we knew the current, before all this talk about the annexation came on, we knew these subdivisions were coming. And so, and it would come in over time, so we could spread this stuff out. Annexation, just like he said, sped the timeline up a little bit, so I wanna be prepared for it. I don't wanna be, stuck like every other police department in Northwest Arkansas where they're always behind and they can't catch up and they're always short officers. And I don't wanna be that guy.
In
So,
keeping with that thought, even if we take the annexation area in, and all the projects are completed, and all the Cave Springs projects are completed, and no more subdivisions come in, we also know that the Evening Star subdivision will expand to 294 lots, it's already planned.
yep, and Scissor,
The Scissortail subdivision is looking to go another 80 acres to the north.
and then there's a new development possibly south of Evening Star, as well. And I don't know how many homes are gonna go in there, I don't have any clue, I just know that's down the road possibly. And then the elementary school, which is, another thing we have to deal with.
Chief, I have one question.
Sure,
Sorry. So with the annexation, you were looking at 7,597. Plus, if you look at all the completed projects, Hillcrest, Osage, and all the other numbers you gave us, that's 9,837 with the two, sorry,
Some of those numbers are pre-combined.
oh, are they, so that's what I was trying to figure out. So like, the annexation, 7,597,
so if, yeah,
but you said an additional 38%.
no, that's just what that is.
What it goes up to
38%
would be 38%.
growth with that number compared to where we are now.
Did I mess up?
I think where we go from that plus that.
To that, plus the completion.
This
So
2240.
this
That's what I
It's
did.
basically
7,000
everything.
Plus the 2,040.
The annexation
The
area
math- the
plus
math's
all the
hard.
current projects
Oh.
that we currently have in the city.
Okay, so 7,597.
But, so, let's get to the elementary school. Evening Star Elementary, we've spoken with the principal numerous times ever since that school's been, put up there, because a lot of the kids that live in Cave Springs go to school there. And that's how we've got to know the principal over the past few years. But there's an average of 680 students at that school right now, well, during the day at this time. So, that's another 680 technically residents for 8 hours of the day, not counting teachers and administration staff that's there. The school, expects in the next couple of years that they'll get to 900 students. So,
And that's according to the superintendent. We had a meeting with the superintendent of schools. And they're trending toward 900 students by the 2026 school year.
and, we know 106 students walk from Scissortail to the school. That's just the walkers. That's not the ones that ride in the cars to the school. That's how many we know that walk from just that subdivision to the school. And there's a crosswalk, there's a couple crosswalks, but crosswalk's only as good as people stop at them. So we're gonna have to man that, and currently, Rogers PD's, community service officer goes out there, in the mornings and in the afternoons when school lets out to help with the traffic. They're not gonna do that anymore if it's ours, so we're gonna have to do it. And a resource officer, like I said a little bit a while ago, or a couple meetings ago, I was a school resource officer for the Fayetteville School District, for about six or 8 years. Greatest job I ever had in my life, I loved it, absolutely loved it, but I was at a junior high school. And The elementary schools, we didn't have school resource officers, and I don't believe they still do to this day. But one of the resource officers that's either at a middle school or a junior high school will respond to that elementary school, to whichever one they have to go to. And I guess that's currently how they have it here. The Rogers PD does have a school resource officer located at Grimsley Junior High or middle school, or Bentonville, I'm sorry. And he will come over from time to time, even though that's not their jurisdiction, but he's county commissioned, so he can come over, and if the principal needs him to address any issues that they may have. So that's something else we're gonna have to deal with, is having somebody that is the direct contact to the school administration, that school administrator can call instead of trying to call CENTCOM or call me, and then I gotta call a guy to see if they're free, if they can go out there. I want one person to be able to drop what they're doing and go out there and deal with whatever the problem may be. And we have talked about it, and we've tossed it around a little bit. This might be one of those issues where if we do get a person an officer to become the contact person for that school, they would have other job duties as well. But it's nothing that it'd be like code enforcement. So it's something they can drop and go. Where our current patrol staff, if they're on a burglary call, they can't say, oh, I gotta go, I got a kid up there throwing a fit at the school. Can't do that. So I want one guy that's dedicated, that can go at a moment's notice and handle any situation that may come up at a school. And there's several different situations that can happen at an elementary school. Parents are divorced, dad comes to pick up the kid, it's not his day to get the kid. We've seen it, I've had to deal with that several times. I mean, there's so many other issues that can come up. So, police staffing, that's the main purpose while I'm here tonight. The DOJ statistics show that there should be go ahead.
So Department of Justice statistics, you can find almost any number that you really want to, if you look at Department of Justice numbers. What I found when I was trying to get the most current numbers is, the number that you find for cities in the South, under 10,000, you'll see 3.8 police officers per 1,000. When you dig into that, you find that that's really not a true number, and it's not a realistic number, because a lot of police departments in the South have a ton of part-time officers. Well, we don't have a lot of them. They have support staff, and they count those people. Well, we don't have any of that. They have secretaries, they have animal control, they have a lot of stuff that we don't have, but they count all that. So
that's
what
why
I
that
did was,
number,
we took all those people out, and the number that we come to was 2.8 for the national average and 2.3.
2.3 is for the state of Arkansas average.
So it's the national average for cities under 10,000 in the South, anywhere below about St. Louis down in the central South, is 2.8 police officers per 1,000 residents for a municipality. And then the average police presence for a municipality in the state of Arkansas is 2.3. Now, all that being said, we were, when we added the last few people, we got ourselves up to 2.3, which was great. Then Allen's Mill came in, and Otter Creek filled in, and Hyde Park filled in a little bit more. Some more people moved into town, so now we're behind again. We're at 1.9 because we haven't added any more officers in the last couple of years.
So yeah, if you look at the current population, 6218, and you divide how many officers we currently have, which is 12, it's 1.9 officers per 1,000. So we're down a little bit. Now,
if we take those numbers and we say, okay, to get to the national average of 2.8, how many people should we have? We should have 17 police officers. If we just want to meet the state average, how many should we have? Well, we should have 14. Well, what we've got right now is 12. If we're looking at where we're going to be in a year or two after the current city projects are completed, that's not, take the annexation out of it, just forget about it. And we look at Tekla Wallace's property at Osage, and we look at Hillsview,
Hillcrest.
Hillcrest, to meet state average, we're gonna need 4 more people. To meet national average, we're gonna need 8 more people.
And then after the annexation and the projects,
If we ignore the projects in town, but we're just looking at the annexation and the projects that are going on in the annexation area today, when they're done, 17 and 21.
and then, of course, this is everything.
Take it all together.
We do annex in, and we count the projects that they have, and the projects we have, to be the national average, we're gonna have 24 people. Which is, honestly, that's not reasonable, and I know that. Needed to meet the state average is 20,
Now,
and I know that's unreasonable, for the most
realistically,
part.
why we're all here is, where do we need to be if the annexation goes through tomorrow? How's it gonna affect the police department? That's the real reason why we're all here. We can talk about the future all we want to, but at the immediate time of annexation, if we flip the switch on it tomorrow, not talking about anything that's not done yet, not talking about the subdivisions that aren't completed, not talking about homes that haven't been moved into, because there's 256 homes that are filled in Scissortail today. Plus 20 more. Right? To meet the state average, we need 17 people. To meet the national average, we need 20.
Now, I'm not gonna say if this annexation goes through that I honestly believe you're gonna give me 5 more officers. That's not gonna happen, and I know that's not gonna happen. But what I am asking for, if this does go through, I'll be coming to you and asking you for 3. Keith and I looked at the schedules and everything and tossed things around. And, I think we could make it work. It would probably put us in the same position we're in now, which is a pretty good position. We're behind, but we're doing all right. I don't think the citizens of, Cave Springs are getting any less service than they did 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And I wanna keep that level of service. And I said it at the last meeting, if we annex these people in, I want to give them the exact same service that our current residents get, without taking away from our current residents. I want everybody to have the same amount like we do today. And in order to do that, I think we need 3 guys. 1 guy to be an SRO, / code enforcement, where they can come out in the morning, work the traffic, get the kids tucked into school, check with the principal, the admin, see what's going on. If nothing's going on, they can go do code enforcement issues. And then come back, check in later on in the day, maybe during lunchtime. That's always a good time to talk to kids during lunch, that I found. And then come back after school and make sure all those parents, don't get road rage and wanna hurt the other parents. And then the 2 officers we would put on the street, and we've strategically tried to figure out a way we can make this work, and this is the way I think we could do it. But granted, I'm just asking, you guys control whether or not I have, so, I just want you guys to keep that in mind, that, if everything comes through, even if it doesn't annex in, we're still behind. And we may come, soon, maybe by the end of the year, if the annexation doesn't go through, and ask for more help, just so we can stay on the level we are with the amount of growth that we're experiencing. Like I said, with the annexation, it just speeds up our timetable, unfortunately.
This was something that we were looking at already, was, okay, where's our level of service at? At what point does it start to suffer? And we're at about that point to where, okay, we're about where we need to be to go to the council, probably in 8 months or so, and in 2025, ask for 2 people. Now the annexation comes up, Well, we have a population increase of, let's say 15%. Well, we have additional area and we have additional people, that bumps up our timeline. And we have a school, we have additional traffic that we're gonna be responsible for that's taking place in that area. So it bumps up our 2 or 3 people timeline. That doesn't mean that those 2 additional people still aren't gonna be there, in the 25, 26 year, because we're still gonna have these other projects, and that's kind of why we threw them in there, is we want you guys to be mindful of the fact that regardless of the annexation, the city's still growing. And if the annexation area becomes part of Cave Springs, it's still gonna be growing. And with that, the city and all the services still have to grow. So this isn't give us 3 people and then for the next 5 or 8 years, the problem's gonna be fixed.
No, as the city grows, we gotta grow with it, just like everything else does. I'm assuming this is the Scissortail folks over here all herded up in the corner. I guarantee you they got a lot of questions, for us, one. Just to let you know, we talked to Bob about this, and, in our police department, I don't, and it's nothing against young officers. I like seasoned officers. And so our average age of experience, how many years of experience that our police department currently has is 22 years of law enforcement experience. And we've all come from bigger agencies, for the most part. We got somebody from Sebastian County, he was at Washington County forever. I was at Fayetteville PD forever. And matter of fact, he and I went to the police academy with the current Rogers chief of police. That's how long ago it was. So, and we know him well, and he's a current resident of the city of Cave Springs. So, just to let you guys know that if you got questions, feel free to holler at me. I will answer anything that you got. Like I said, we've got a pretty good handle on things currently, and I wanna keep that. I don't want to get behind the 8 ball where I'm constantly playing catch up, and you guys are the ones that pay for it. Whether your stuff gets stolen or vandalized or whatever the case may be, I don't want that to happen. So that's why we're here tonight, is to try to throw what we think we need to provide the same service that we're currently doing for you guys as well.
When we try to recruit a new officer, I'm gonna give you a little bit of the pitch that we give them. This town is the place that you always wanted to go to be the place. And you went somewhere else and you realized it wasn't quite what you thought it was. Here, we've developed a place where you can actually be the police officer you wanted to be. Where you can drive around and you can stop and you can visit with people, they'll call you by name, and when something's out of the ordinary, you know it's out of the ordinary because you know the people that live in your town. And that's what we've tried to develop here. And that's why we get older officers who are sick of having somebody after them. You need to stop more cars, you need to find more drugs, you need to do this, you need to do that, because we believe in community-based policing. And if we become your police department, we want you to be satisfied with us. And we want to get to know you all individually. We want to know what you drive. We want to get used to, even if you don't want to talk to us, we want to get used to,
At least
we
wave
drive
at
past
us
your
with all your
house.
fingers.
Yeah. Just drive past your house and say, oh, well, there's a vehicle that's not normally there and it doesn't look quite right, I'm gonna stop and check it. That's the service that we provide.
So, I was, one of the first, officers in Fayetteville. There was a handful of us that Chief picked to start up their community-based policing, their community-oriented policing division. We didn't know what we were doing when we got in there. I had no idea, and then we built it to what we wanted it to become. And I realized then that community-based policing really, really works. It makes you feel safer. We know that, that you're good people. A lot of times, they just think we're out there just catch bad guys alone. And just like he said, this place is the reason why we got in law enforcement to begin with, is so we can get out there and help people. We actually can do it. Arresting everybody isn't really helping anybody. So it's a different style that we have adapted and adopted here, and we like it, and I think the citizens and the people that do live here like it. And we wanna provide that to you guys, so if you guys have questions, you can ask. Not tonight, but we gotta get back to, I gotta turn it back over, I've taken probably too much time. Unless you guys got some
I have
questions.
a question.
Oh, gosh.
Well, yeah, well, so, you said 3 officers immediately if the annexation comes through, but we would need officers even if the annexation wasn't coming through.
Mhm.
I mean, so, just realistically, you know, by the end of 2025, say, you know, are we, do you think we're looking at maybe an increase of 5 officers?
Again, you know, it's one of those things where I wanna stay just above or ahead of the 8 ball. So if the annexation didn't go through, yeah, well, I'm still coming back and asking for at least 2. At the end of the year, for sure. Because a lot of these subdivisions aren't gonna be done by the end of the year, but we know they're coming. And so there's no sense in asking for it now if we, I don't like, honestly, and everybody that knows me, I don't like wasting money at all. Even the city's money, I don't like wasting it. So it would probably be towards the end of the year before the next budget cycle, hit it then, instead of trying to amend the current budget. But if the annexation does come through, there are some things we're gonna have to expedite it. And then we will have to do a budget adjustment.
And those, each officer there'll be 3 new vehicles, we bring on 3 new officers.
Well, if we get 3 people, we can get by with two cars. And the reason I say that is because we've got one that's being built as we speak, and it leaves us a very good, reliable spare unit. That's still a very good police car. That would just go, and then we have the old police truck, the 16 Dodge, the big Dodge truck, as our spare unit in case one needs to go in the shop. So we would need 2. If we hired 3 people, we need 2 cars on top of that as well.
So, I know we're short 2 right now, 2 officers, right, correctly?
No, I mean, for what I have budgeted and what I have staffed for this year,
No, I mean, based on it.
based on the numbers, yeah, yeah,
So.
if you go by the
as-
2.3.
As I said in the other meeting that we discussed, I really don't wanna, if the annexation goes through, I wanna make sure I can look at these folks and say, yes, we're gonna take care of you. And I don't wanna be too short and ask only 1 more. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right, and if you need
Sure.
5 more, then we need to ask for 5 more, and we should be able to see, are we gonna be protect them, do we have the budget to do it or not?
You know,
So I don't want, I mean, I know what you're saying, Stevie,
Sure.
but when it comes to police department and this annexation going through, I wanna be conservative, I wanna make sure we're asking for what we need.
we'll eventually get to 5. It just may not be immediate because we gotta wait for stuff to be built too. And so it could be another year before some of those projects are filled out.
Realistically, even though the numbers say that we're a little bit behind, with the people that we have, we're very comfortable providing the level of service that we
Yes,
have
sir.
because we hire good people. And whether you're, it depends on how you look at it. A good employee can outperform a bad employee, hands down,
Yes.
any day of the week. So we, even if we say we're gonna add 2 people at the, on next year's budget, and next year's budget goes into effect in January, those 2 people probably wouldn't get hired until March, April, May,
Yeah,
because we vet our people, we recruit, we spend a lot of time trying to find the right person. And me and the chief both believe there's 3 things that someone has to have to be a Cave Springs police officer. They have to have experience and be the right fit for this town. They have to be the right fit for the department. And they have to be trustworthy and honest. And it's hard to find all 3 of those things.
it's sad, but he's right.
But I understand, and I think we have, in my opinion, one of the best police department in the state. And I support you guys all the time, and everybody in the council does. However, but my question is, when the annexation goes through, we're adding 1,400 new residents, basically. So
Well-
I don't wanna
Well,
go
actually,
too.
if it goes through, in theory, if our numbers are accurate, I'm fairly confident that 3.5 is a fairly solid number. for the number of homes that are currently occupied. So let's say 1,000, a little less, maybe a little bit more.
Let's say 4 at least. I mean, I just,
You know, I would say, you know, maybe we're underestimating, maybe we're overestimating. But if we got 2 new patrolmen and with the scheduling that we're looking at doing, and then have someone dedicated to handle the school, code enforcement, maybe a little animal control stuff, that's also done not only to just take care of the school and code enforcement, but also take some of
The heat
those
off of
duties
us.
off of the patrol officers.
Cause right
So they're not having
now,
to
we
stop
are the
to
code enforcement,
Track
we are
down
the
someone,
animal
tell them to go to their
control.
yard, to go catch a dog or whatever. So it also is freeing them up. So it's kind of a twofer there. That gives them more time to patrol the neighborhoods and deal with the stuff that's their primary job. So by asking for 3, I would rather ask for 3 and say, if the annexation goes through, ask for 3 now, let those subdivisions get built out, evaluate the rate that they're getting built and people are moving in, and then come back to you guys and say, I need 2 more. I need a full-time detective. I need whatever I need.
Yeah, I mean, cause,
As
you
those
know,
needs.
we can't see the future and we don't know if the housing market's gonna go bust. I mean, it's possible, it's done it before, I really doubt it, but it could, and then all these projects stop. And then we've got too many, so as we go, we'll come back and ask for more, I promise you. I'm not afraid to ask for more.
so if the annexation doesn't go through, are you gonna come and ask for 2 more or not? 2 more officers or not?
Yes, but not immediate. I'm
Probably-
gonna ask for 2 more probably in next
Probably
year's
next
budget.
year.
Because
Probably
these are slowly getting built
Next
out.
year, by the time.
Yes,
Next year. So if you're asking for 2 for that, for next year to just keep up with things, how can we ask for 1 more to take care of the elementary school?
well, just like he said, that one guy that's gonna be that with the school, he's gonna free up a lot of the calls that our guys are currently going on. So that's gonna give them more free time.
So, you know, ideally.
I mean,
if
I
the
know what you're
annexation-
saying, and, you know, in a perfect world, I would love to have 17, 20 people. I absolutely would love it,
Might be hard to find them.
but, do what?
Be hard to find them.
Yeah,
So I think
that's,
MC, I think the roadmap for this, the way I see it, the way they've communicated is, if the annexation happened, we'd get 3 right away. They could still come back and add 2 more at the next year's budget.
correct,
So
Exactly.
then we would get to 5.
correct, then we would get the
I
5.
think that's the roadmap to get to
You
where,
know-
you're thinking ahead to 5, and I think they're talking about a path to get to 5.
You know, realistically, from the administration standpoint, and we both worked in departments where we were understaffed and we were miserable. And we've also seen what it's like to try to manage employees who were underworked. So right now, we're at a good place where the guys aren't overworked, but they're busy. They're steady. They're not so overworked, they can't get their reports done, they've got backup. We've got plenty of people that can take time off when they need to. But they're not constantly swamped. But they're also don't have a bunch of time, because there's so many of them, that they don't have anything to do. If we overload the streets based on our population or call volume, to where
You don't want a board cop.
where,
like
yeah, you get a board cop, and he's like, well, I took 1 call today, and it's the other 4 guys' turn to take their 1 call for the day. You know, what are we paying for? We get a bunch of board lazy cops.
We wanna be realistic.
Yeah.
And-
So
and-
we wanna keep their level of activity that they're maintaining right now per officer about the same. So as we grow, we wanna increase our staffing volume to keep that activity. When they start getting swamped, and we start feeling like, you know, all of a sudden, I got 3 guys on the road and they're all covered up in reports, we need more people. That's when we're gonna come to you.
So, go ahead.
So, I mean, I was just gonna say, I understand your concerns, MC. I think that, obviously having some kind of a roadmap into, you know, what we're going to need, like I said, at the end of 2025, and trying to, approximate some of this growth, But the truth of the matter is, and I hope you guys, the Scissortail folks, again, welcome, thank you for being here. There's one thing I hope you can see from this, you know, there may be some things about Cave Springs that are classically small town, but we have a pretty good police force. I mean, I would say the proof is kind of in the pudding. I mean, our crime rate is extremely low. The place that you guys live is already in the same, I mean, it's the same area, you know, it's demographically similar to the rest of Cave Springs. And so, you know, I trust you guys' judgment. If you guys say we need 3 officers, then that's what I want to give you, and whenever you come and you want more, I also want to do that. My question, and this is more of a question for the mayor and for Justin when he gets here, is, you know, we're getting this, you know, and I guess let me ask you directly, Chief, if we need 3 more officers, do you believe, in your professional opinion, that the Cave Springs Police Department could offer the same level of service for police protection services for the Scissortail residents that they get?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so my question is, you know, can we organize it like that, where if we pass the ordinance for the land swap, you know, I would want an ordinance on the docket for that night to hire the additional, you know, I mean, to start making moves to hire the additional officers. And get them.
You know, we're pretty lucky on the timing of this, because school's out in, what, 3 weeks, something like that. So there won't be any kids over there for the summer. So it gives us a few months to really pick through and find what we're looking for,
It
so.
gives you time to do the hiring process, basically,
Yeah,
without a rush.
yeah. That's a blessing in disguise.
He's talking about getting the money there, Sue, you got it, and you
And,
got your,
you know,
You can go do
of course,
it,
if it was to go through, the first priority would be finding the right person for, you know, for the school assignment.
Because not anybody can be a school resource officer, and I sound horrible saying that, because I was one, but, you just can't put, you know, a cop that's, all he does is look for drugs every day and put them in school, and he's not gonna interact well with kids.
So, you know, sometimes putting the wrong cop in a school.
Yeah, you gotta find the right guy that
It's
wants
worse
to
than
be
putting
there.
no cop in a school.
It takes a special person.
And whether that's reassigning somebody that we currently employ that may be interested in it, or finding somebody and recruiting them from another department, or whatever it is, you know, that's something that's gonna take some time to figure out.
Well, I'm figuring we don't have a drug problem at Easton Elementary. I mean, you guys.
I would really hope not. I really hope not, but that's what I'm saying, if he's used to doing that, he's gonna do the same thing there, and that's not gonna mesh well.
You know,
Yeah.
and a lot of
that's
the
a
stuff
problem.
with being an SRO, it's not just being good with the kids or being good with the staff. You know, there's some investigative skills that you need, because child abuse cases come through, a lot of them get started at school.
And you being
rape
in law
cases
school,
get
you know,
started at
juvenile
school.
laws are totally different in how we deal with them.
There's a ton of stuff that we deal with that originates at the school. And having
Yeah.
somebody with good investigative skills at the school is so important. And especially finding that investigator that also has the ability to talk to children and adults and solve
And I
problems.
didn't mention this earlier, when we met with the superintendent and talked to the principal, they would allow us to use their school facilities on weekends and maybe in the summer to work on, God forbid it ever happens, you know, active shooter.
Yeah.
To where our guys can train in that building and know where things are.
Because
And-
if we do take it over, we want every one of our officers, all of our officers, to know that building inside and out.
Yep,
Every square inch of it.
and we'll do it.
And that, I mean, and I'm sure police departments all over, you know, do that same thing, but I would
Absolutely.
imagine the fact that there's only one school that you guys would be taking. on,
Yeah.
I'm sure that you guys maybe even would have, you know, additional time and familiarity with that school, which
Yep.
as it relates to.
Yep.
So that's.
I have a comment. Can you explain, so I remember when I first got on council, you drove me around the whole city, which took 3 hours, I think. And you explained that Cave Springs is the same Monday as it is Friday, as it is Saturday, as it is every day of the week, it's the same.
Correct.
That's why you hire experience. Do you think that view is still
Do I?
applicable with an annexation?
I do, because we are not a destination city. People in Fayetteville don't go, gee, I'm gonna go to, I gotta go visit Casey's in Cave Springs today. But it just doesn't happen. But the AMP, you know, you look at Rogers with all the amenities that they have, and they draw people in, they're a destination city. There's things to do. And I'm not saying Cave Springs, there's nothing here, you know, but I just don't foresee people from far off coming here in Grove, to visit our lovely city.
We're not annexing a nightclub that's only open on Friday and Saturday night. We're annexing a very nice neighborhood.
You're correct. I don't think there's any plans in phase
You know,
two.
and those folks might go to a very nice nightclub and in return to their very nice subdivision and their very nice homes. So we may have a little bit of traffic, but that's traffic we
But
have
yes,
anyway.
I don't think that will change as businesses come to Cave Springs, which we know ultimately it will eventually happen. It just depends on the business. You know, I know people go to Pastafina and people will from Fayetteville come to Pastafina. But that's just one restaurant. It's not necessarily a destination, something that's gonna draw hundreds of thousands of people, every weekend, like say Dixon Street on Fayetteville. You know, every Friday and Saturday night, that whole street is just crawling with kids. Oh, gosh. I don't like it. And I've worked down there for several years.
Just a couple of logistical questions real quick. So, I know we've gone over this recently, but whenever we outfit a new vehicle, what is the average cost on?
We just bought
a
one.
new vehicle? Yeah.
So we're spending about $63,000 a top.
Okay.
Ish.
Ish.
About 10.5 of that is in equipment and upfit.
It's a lot less expensive than it's gonna be.
We gotta put a cage, gotta put the lights,
Yeah.
Cage, push bumper, light bar.
And
But-
then what, you know, what's our average salary for the department right now?
average?
Or as close
I
as
can't
you-
tell you off the top of my head.
I mean, just the closest $10,000 increment, you know, it's 40 or 50 or
We
60.
kind of did a rough estimate of that the other day in my office, and it was around 85, 86.
That's including all benefits.
all
That's the
benefits,
city's
the
cost.
total cost.
Yeah, that's
for
not what the officer's
employee.
making, I assure you.
So,
No,
That'd be acres and everything.
That's the social security, that's the everything, retirement.
230 vehicles for salaries, but
we're generally starting officers, depending on experience, around $23.5, $24 an hour.
so the total cost for the first year to hire 3 new officers.
Yeah,
with 2 vehicles.
the mayor and I, the cost to the city, it'd be around 80,000 per officer because of medical insurance and all that is around 80,000 when you tack all that stuff on.
Mhm.
So you're looking at 3, that's roughly 240,000
So, okay, and then.
Roughly.
Yeah, plus the 2 vehicles.
plus the 2 vehicles, so you're looking at another
Okay, so about
100,000.
$360,000 at the outset.
Yes.
For police expansions. And this is just my way of letting people know, you know, I've heard different comments, some very constructive, some less so, but nobody uses or tails a cash register. You know, we are a city that has lots of nice neighborhoods in it. You know,
It's a beautiful neighborhood. I'll tell you
It is a
that.
nice, yeah, Chief and I snuck in the gate, a couple weeks ago to whichever one of you guys would be responsible for letting us in. But no, we snuck in, looked around a little bit, it's a gorgeous neighborhood. And like I said, it's very demographically similar to many of the neighborhoods we have here in Cave Springs that our police officers are very used to patrolling. You know, my big concern is I want everybody to know that, you know, it's, the city council people, at least, I mean, we get paid a little bit, you know, $300 a month. I mean, we're essentially volunteers here, and our pay's not gonna go up because, we have your tax revenue. It's just gonna be an additional, you know, job for us, and I think all of us take it very seriously. We're not taking this decision lightly, and we are really trying to think on the front end, you know, what is the cost of the city gonna be? Can we balance that out at least with tax revenue or get close to it? But at the end of the day, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, MC's an entrepreneur, Jeremy, Mark, you know, there's a lot of businessmen up here, but this is not a for-profit enterprise, right? This is a service, and we are approaching it that way. Is we wanna make sure that you guys are getting the right services for what you're contributing. And so, so I hope that comes through in these discussions, but thank you for those numbers. I mean, I think it's safe to assume that the city needs to plan to, you know, get pretty immediately $120,000 for vehicles, and then, you know, just in the first year, another $240,000 in salaries. And just kind of have that be in the back of everybody's mind as we make these decisions.
Has Rogers shared any data in regards to the numbers of calls in the organization area, maybe in 2023?
No, and to be honest with you, I haven't called over there, but speaking with some of the developers over there at Scissortail, it's a gated community,
Right.
so, I love gated communities, I know he does too.
Absolutely love it.
Because not only does it keep people in, it keeps people out.
Well,
And,
From my perspective, when you look at numbers, when you say, 3.5 officers per thousand in the south, you obviously have to take into consideration the affluency of the neighborhood.
sure,
Absolutely.
sure.
And so I would be interested to know, how much of your call volume would increase by,
It-
looking
Yeah,
back in the- I'm a big data guy. I
Sure.
think you probably figured out at this point that is it gonna be 5% more, 10%, 15%
I
more?
got you.
And then specifically within a lot of the emails that I've read all the emails, I just haven't had time to respond to all of them. Specifically Evening Star, how many calls have they gone to Evening Star for? Maybe the type of those calls, whether it's, being in elementary school, I would assume it's not gonna be violence, we'll have more, as Mark said, the child abuse thing, so. But if that was something that.
You know, I get calls from Evening Star, the principal over at Evening Star, on a fairly regular basis, because a lot of their students live in Cave Springs. So, Ashley over there, I've known her, I know her very, very well. I've worked, several cases, some of them turned into a big deal, some of them didn't. But they originated at the school. Call volume is kind of a weird deal. When we run stats, we like to see call volume go up with the population proportionally. What we really love to see is call volume go down when the population goes up. Now, when myself and the chief started, back in 2015, 2016, if you guys remember, when the sun went down, everybody's cars and their mailboxes and anything that was left unlocked was getting robbed blind. Because there was people that were breaking into everything under the sun that was unlocked, because that, at the time, the focus was get out and stop cars, catch speeders, find dope. Nobody was patrolling the neighborhoods.
It was like, what, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was an administration change. There was an outlook change on the way we policed Cave Springs. Now, and I really believe this, and it's something that an old sheriff said to me years and years ago, there is no place in this town at any given point in time that somebody coming here to do something bad isn't scared they're gonna run across one of our cars. Because we're everywhere, and we can be anywhere at any given time, because we spend a lot of time patrolling the neighborhoods. We very, very rarely have car breaking anymore.
Yeah.
We very rarely have anybody get their mailbox broken into anymore. And all of a sudden, we start showing up on this list of the safest cities in Arkansas, because our crime stats nosedived when we changed the way we police this town. Now, Scissortail's a gated community. Do we anticipate there's a lot of theft and car break-ins and stuff going on in Scissortail? No. Same reason we don't have a lot of it going on in St. Valerie Downs, because the people that live there, that are in there, are the ones that are allowed to be in there. Except for when me and JJ sneak in.
You can, I wanna pile onto that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I live in St. Valerie Downs, gated, just like Scissortail. Way up on the north, so it's way out of the way. But these guys come through, I walk my dog at night. These guys, just what they're saying, community policing. I see a patrol a lot, not every night necessarily, cause hey, the time I'm out there might not be the same time they're coming through. But I know they come through every night, a couple times. And they always, if I wave, they'll slow down. And if they see that, hey, they don't know me necessarily, like I know these guys, but the average patrol guy doesn't necessarily know me. I mean, by now, maybe a couple of them do, but, they'll kind of like, they always have that attitude, like, they're interested in seeing if you're doing okay and if you want to chat, a lot of times they'll just pull up and roll down the window, how you doing, and I love the give and take. So they have got to know me. Actually, I said but when I say they don't know me, I mean they're getting to know me, right? Because I'm getting to know them. But they don't just stop because they know I'm a city council person. They don't know. I mean, by now they might. Some of them do. But
Most of them don't come to the council.
But that's how they're trained. I mean, it is like community policing. It isn't just a phrase. It's real. And I love what you just said, cause I hadn't thought about that, but the change in policy, cause when I started, my first term in city council was like 2012 when Larry Smith took over, and that's about when it changed. And the amount of tickets they were giving out went down dramatically, but you're right, the amount of crime went down dramatically too, because they changed. I love how you frame that. I hadn't actually thought about it, because there's a direct correlation there, and you nailed it. But yeah, I'm very comfortable with this. I love this police force we've got. Very low turnover. That's something you didn't mention. I mean, these guys, they're the leaders. They're like Nick Saban and. You guys might not like Nick Saban because this is Arkansas, but I mean, these guys are just great leaders. They've got a lot of loyalty on the force, and.
I mean, I love this city, I love this town, and I love the residents. I talk to as many as I can, when I can. I truly do. This is a great
There's no
town.
doubt.
I don't live here, unfortunately. Had I not bought my house 25 years ago where I'm at, if I knew Cave Springs existed 25 years ago, I would have absolutely moved here and knew what this town was. But my wife fell in love with that house. She told me I could move to Cave, but she's not.
And all that being said, we do have a plan. We could come to you and ask for the world, but we're not going to. That's what we think we need. And in the future, we think we're gonna need a couple more people. But it's realistic, I think, anyway. It gives you an idea of where we're at as far as the police department goes and what our expectations are. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But the bottom line is, we're still going to keep doing what we've been doing and providing the best service we can to the current residents and the new residents. If you guys, if the annexation happens, regardless of whether we get more officers or not.
I can say safely, I see at least one police officer in my neighborhood that is not gated a day. Probably 99% of the time, I see at least one of you, whether it's one or
That's
nine.
good to know. That's good to hear.
And I told you that.
Yeah.
And it still reigns the same.
And here's the deal, with police officers, we have a force continuum that we use to do everything. And our first level of force is officer presence. Just being somewhere may prevent something. But the problem with preventing things, you can't measure what you prevent, because you don't know. And so that's why we do what we do, burn up these neighborhoods.
If there's a car driving around in your neighborhood and one of our patrolmen notices that car and he pulls over, he watches it for a couple of minutes and then it leaves town and it goes to Lowell and it's gone below. We have no way of knowing what that car was doing there, whether they were about to commit a crime or whatever. There's no metric for that.
But yeah, like I said, the whole point of this is just, guys, let you see what we're seeing and what we're wanting to do and where we're wanting to go and where we want to be in the next couple of years. Whether this thing happens or not, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the same job. We'll make it work. That's the good thing about us is we're going to make it work. And so.
We've never not made it work yet.
And plus, just give you guys an idea of, like I said, what to expect. So when I hit you next year and say, hey, I need 2 more, you aren't surprised by it. You ain't floored by it. That at least you guys have some idea of what we're seeing and what we're doing and what we're hoping to accomplish. So.
Thanks, guys.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying thank you. I didn't know you had a comment, sorry.
That's all right, no problem, I just want to make sure I don't touch it. So, we appreciate you, and we know, our police department is great, is best, in my opinion, in the state of Arkansas, state that I say. The reason I trust your opinion, the reason I'm questioning that, I just want to make sure we understand every aspect of it, and don't lose any sight of anything. So in your calculation, did you adjust it for how many acres you're losing, how many acres you're gaining, and how much more petrol do you need to go to those and have the same community?
We didn't do that, just for the fact that, you know, that's unpopulated land that most of it, that would be going to Rogers. There's only a handful of homes up there, but it's so far away from where our normal routine is. By gaining this, we're burning up this road anyway. We're driving past, Pleasant Grove Road there at that light all the time, because we gotta go to the other parts of our city, St. Valerie Downs, up there on Elk Road, Cook Road, those places like that, Ozark Acres. Several subdivisions up the road. So, we're already partially there, on a daily basis.
Realistically,
So,
we're patrolling
it's
half
just,
of the annexation area now. And we will be regardless of whether the annexation goes through.
yeah.
Yeah, there is a
Sounds good.
synergy there, that's true. In fact, I think you can even do less driving.
Probably.
Because you don't
We'll do
have to
less
go
driving.
all the way east to those areas.
We don't have to go all the way to
that people
Champions
bring.
or Southgate.
It's actually, yeah.
So it's not just one spot.
I think the biggest, really demand or need for extra people is that school. I mean, adding the neighborhood.
Again, I have a soft heart for
We
schools,
don't-
and I,
yeah.
like I said, I was resource officer, I love
The
that job.
resource
I know
officer,
there's a
doing
need,
traffic and stuff.
there's a need,
Yeah.
because kid safety is number one.
Yep.
Number one, those kids walking across that street. Absolutely number one. I have children.
Yep,
Well,
yep.
they're grown now, but,
Chief, can I ask another question real quick?
sure.
A lot of the focus tonight has been on Scissortail, and I know that's because that's what we're discussing, bringing into the city, and so the logistical questions really focus on that. We are also giving up a group of houses to Rogers, right? And those are our current residents, and so I just, in the same way, you know, and guys, Scissortail folks, just so you know how I make decisions, I mean, there are things that I consider myself to be relatively, you know, as close to an expert as I can be, you know, in my line of work. There are many things that I do not consider myself an expert in, most things, actually, and in those situations, I do my best to outsource my judgment to experts in the field who I feel like have the experience to make these judgment calls. And so I hope that from listening to this, you guys can tell, if you believe that there is such a thing as an expert in the field of policing, you are listening to two of them tonight. And so, in the same way that I asked you, if we hire 3 additional officers, do you feel like we can provide the same level of service? For the residents who would be leaving Cave Springs and going to Rogers, you know, I know that there are some logistical difficulties with you guys patrolling over there right now. I know there are certain places like Stratzman Lane where it's like, you know, half of it's all in Rogers, half of it's Cave Springs. And my question to you is, if the annexation were to go through, do you feel confident that our current Cave Springs residents that are going to Rogers would get the same level of service? And that, you know,
I can't comment on what Rogers provides, and I don't even want to start there. I can only speak for what we can do and what we plan to do and what we're gonna do. I can't speak for them.
You know, what I can tell you is that in times when we have been, and we've both been night patrolmen back when we had 5 officers. And so we were on night patrol by ourselves. When we had calls over on that side of town, Rogers was always fantastic to assist us. Rogers, I'm not saying anything negative about their department. Rogers has a fantastic place to work.
They sure do.
You know, I would not be uncomfortable having Rogers as my police department at all.
Okay.
They come in and assist us anyway.
They do. Rogers has always been fantastic. Bentonville's been fantastic.
Half of 112 is theirs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate that honesty, this is kind of the last question in that chain, you know, I mean, if the annexation were to go through and we were to hire 3 additional officers, do you feel like the annexation would add stress to the police department such that you would be less able to patrol the existing areas of Cave
No,
Springs?
no,
Okay.
absolutely not. I think if we had 3 with the annex date and everything gets annexed in, well, yeah, everything would be exactly the same as it is today.
Okay. Those are my main questions.
Thank you.
All right, I think we took up enough time. Justin not making it.
We're trying to kill time, yeah.
Thanks, guys. I wanna do that.
Appreciate you guys for your service.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief Jordan?
I don't think it'll take as long as them. First, I'm gonna start off by the EMS, what we provide here in Cave Springs. So we have Pafford ambulances which stationed here at our fire department. Basically, Cave and Rogers are modeled the same way. We have first responders that respond, just like Rogers does. They have an engine, except we have an ambulance here that's 2.7 miles, and their ambulance is 4.3 miles, I think I calculated, from Station 5. The Station 8 at Rogers still responds, just like we respond to our ambulance calls. So if that ambulance is out, we have ambulances, Pafford has ambulances placed all over the county, so they'll backfill. So there shouldn't be any problem with EMS. We got Wolf ALS, Advanced Life Support, and so they provide the same care service. As far as fire calls, I met with Chief Hyde, Chief Scantlin in Bentonville. When we have a fire in Scissortail or that area, you're gonna get the same boots on the ground. Rogers, Bentonville, Cave Springs, whether they annex or not. So no change in service on that case.
And that's because we've got the mutual aid agreement.
We said we have mutual aid agreements.
And just for the folks, if you weren't here for our previous meetings, all the cities around here have mutual aid agreements, and so whenever there is a call, multiple departments, whichever departments are closest go, so that fire station that's down the road in Pleasant Grove, they're gonna be coming either way. And it sounds like you're saying there's an ambulance that's closer in our station than.
Correct.
our ambulance, okay.
Correct. And like I said, I've met with both them chiefs. We'll be getting Rogers and Bentonville and Cave Springs, and also Centerville.
So we got some emails that, indicated that people felt our fire department was still volunteer.
Now, so we are a combination department. We still do have volunteers, but we are staffed. And I just put in for a SAFER grant last Friday. And so that, if we get that, or if we do or not get it, we're gonna increase by one person, and hopefully in the next year or two, by 2 more.
And with the annexation, annexing in this extra land, do you feel like that's going to affect your staffing needs?
I mean, we're already need the staffing regardless,
Okay.
so.
We've done the first step towards staffing it full-time, but it's not fully staffed with full-time. There's some things he's done, like a part-time during the day, and he's here to respond. So we run with usually 4 during the day that are here to respond at the station.
And 2 at night and 1 on call. But at night, we have more volunteers, which we don't have very many volunteers anyway. But most of our volunteers are from full-time departments, except for a couple, from Bentonville, Centerton, Bella Vista. So we're all from full-time departments that are volunteer, except for a few. And like I said, if we respond to Scissortail or whatever they annex, you're getting the same guys whether you annex or not.
Can I ask a question that you'll probably have some insight on this, Gary, I'm not quite sure if you'll be able to answer this, Mayor Howard, you may have some insight on this too. The ISO rating, Rogers is 1 right now, I know that Cave Springs, now that we have a full-time department, and getting the ladder truck, we're expecting that to change.
Correct, we'll have to go for an evaluation. I've been working with, I actually talked to Julie today about getting flow tested, since we were on the Springdale water for a while, they didn't do it. We get the ladder truck, we get all our records up to date, they're up to date, but with the full-time staff, then we'll go for an ISO rating. But I've talked to several insurance agencies in Northwest Arkansas, they said it shouldn't affect their insurance that much, because that station is 1.4 miles, what I calculated. And that's what they're going off, is hydrants and station locations, is what they've contacted. Now, one did say they just need to each reach out to their insurance agent and see. But I called, I think, half a dozen insurance agents in Northwest Arkansas, and they pretty much gave me all that answer. So, and if anybody has any questions on that from Scissortail or anybody that affects that, they can give City Hall a call and I'll give them a call back.
I had a question. I'm sorry, were you done, Judy?
Almost, yeah. I was just gonna say, if you're a Scissortail resident and you have been told something different by your insurance agent, forward that to me, and you might just reach out to me, I'd be interested to look at that, and then, so.
Yeah, like I said, most of them said they'll probably stay at one since they're right there, 4 miles from Rogers Station 8.
So if we do annex them in, are they going to be paying fire association dues?
I've actually talked to the mayor about that. We're in the process of contacting the municipal league, getting rid of the association. And so probably by this time next year, the association will not be a factor anymore. The city council will take over that, and you guys will make that decision.
So for this fiscal year, they won't
They
be paying
wouldn't.
because
No,
they
they wouldn't.
annexed in after, obviously they were.
And I know, I'm the one that's in charge of that. I know who's annexed and who's, you know.
Who's not?
Anything else?
Thanks,
Thank you, Chief. Do you have anything you wanna pick up on till Justin gets here, or?
I do, I've got just a couple things that I think, we had some questions on last time, was a cost associated with extending utilities up to that area based on the user agreement that we looked at. So if I take a step back a little bit and just remind you guys of the planning that's been taking place over the last several years, the NACA line that's going currently under construction, the upsizing of that line that was discussed at the Water and Sewer Committee meeting many years ago to make sure that the capacity was there for additional growth out west of Highway 112. So that was a good vision there. In addition to the sewer upgrades, we also had the water upgrades. If you'll remember, we were looking at an 8-inch extension from Pace Lane north along Roberts Road heading toward Rogers. And you guys wanted to go back and look at the price of what will it cost to go ahead and upsize that to a 12-inch. And so that's where we're moving forward right now. Again, we're within about a half a mile of their system right now, and we were starting the planning process for an emergency connection, as we know how important those are with the experience we had just a couple short weeks ago. So that has been in the process. Just to give you an order of magnitude cost where we stand right there, that's probably an estimate of around a $450,000 cost to go that half mile to make that connection on the water line. So again, very close and attainable based on what we're doing. Put that in perspective, the change order that you approved with our current contractor to extend the 12-inch line along Roberts Road was about $200,000. Kind of give you an order of magnitude there. Now, if I were to take a step back and let's talk through sewer a little bit, and I can pull a map up if you
You
need.
get closer to the mic.
I can pull a map up if you need me to, but I think you all probably remember exactly the way that looked like with the Osage splitting. You've got a basin that the sewer could actually flow south from that area through the new Osage Meadows property, or where it really wants to go is west of there down due to the topography, and can tie into the NACA line that we have. So we have two options. Let's start with option one, being the one through Osage Meadows. We're currently on the second review of their detailed engineering plans. We have a cost share agreement in place that you've all agreed to go ahead and upsize that line for some additional capacity to the north of Osage Meadows. That reads, the 12-inch water line, the city has agreed to pay up to $168,000 in material cost for that. So there's a cap on it for water line. Up to $332,000 for the sewer line upgrade or upsizing more than what they need, and then up to $25,000 for easement acquisition. So that is already in place. Those are planned for. We're planning on utilizing I'll be on blank for a moment. Fees we charge, impact fees to cover the cost of those. And again, that's another one of those items. If we go back several years ago, you all passed an impact fee ordinance that allows you to charge both for water and sewer impact fees per lot. Your sewer impact fees are $2,000 per lot, and water impact fees are $1,300 a lot. So any new subdivisions that come in, once they're approved, they have to pay those associated fees. And again, that is due to the impact on your current system, basically reflective of the growth that you're seeing. So again, there's a lot of things that you can put into place to help help you with this additional growth. Now, if we switch to option 2, where I was talking about we can gravity flow almost the entire way from the Scissor-Terre, just south of the school, down to the NACA line.
Sorry, I can't hear you over there, and I'm a civil engineer, so you're talking my language now.
All right, good deal. So, pull out my estimates here. If we did, based on the current planning of that area, the current basin that was planned for, we would need a 12-inch gravity line. With the addition of an annexation area, we would need to increase the main line to an 18-inch. There on the bottom of the development, if you will. You could also, just worst case scenario, install a force main from Scissor-Tail, from the pump station there, all the way to our NACA line. That would be your least cost alternative. The original plan for the gravity sewer line will probably be on the order of $6 million. The 18-inch line all the way to that location will be on the order of about $11.5 million. And then the force main, you're looking at about $4.8 million. Those costs, keep in mind, we have several developers in that area right now that are looking to develop, that are currently working with engineers for subdivision development, on the order of probably around 1,245 homes were our estimates earlier. Now, we assumed a density of home per quarter of an acre, but in doing that, you've got to take into account for roads, your right-of-ways and things of that nature. So we just looked at the number of acres times 3 to get to the 1,245 homes in that area. So we're looking at an sewer impact fees alone of about $2.5 million if those subdivisions of individuals that have reached out to us today in that area develop. Have I thoroughly confused you, or?
Well, it sounds like it would help pay for those costs of the new line, but not quite cover it though.
That is correct. But keep in mind what you would be responsible for. If individuals go out and develop 300 acres in that location, they would generally be responsible for the infrastructure installation, cost and installation. You would be responsible for any type of increase in size to cover future developments outside of those areas. Just like we did in Osage Meadows. Osage Meadows would be fine with an 8-inch water line, but we know that that 12-inch line needs to extend all the way up to Pace Lane to connect with their other 12-inch to continue that loop that we've planned in the master plan of the city. So we're paying the difference between the 8-inch and the 12-inch line. So those numbers that I were giving you are absolutely worst case scenario, assuming no development will take place in that area between Evening Star and the new NACA line.
Well, that's the raw cost you're assuming that's what it's going to cost somebody, right?
That's
to
correct.
Those lines, right? So
That's
you're saying
correct.
obviously impact fees, and then the cost of the development, depending on how that development is happening, is on the developer, right?
That's correct.
And so, your civil engineer buddy behind you is losing it.
That's not taking into account that you have to be able to serve people today. That's if it was green pasture and you were going that direction. You've got over 300 residents in a school that have to be served today.
Sure.
And Rogers I'm RWU's chairman. That agreement only lasts 5 to 7 years, 5 on water, 7 on sewer. So this timeline that you're saying for impact fees only really counts if you can get there in 5 to 7 years. If that development doesn't occur in that time, you have to extend that to serve homes that are already there on water and sewer today. So I think it's a little clouded, not mentioning that there are people that flush toilets and drink water in there today. Sure.
Well, we have option
And there's
A.
a timeline.
We have option A where our sewer will be within probably close to that, where we
Yeah.
could go through those Sage Meadows without having to go through the entire green field and 17,000 feet of line. So it is doable.
So Daniel, at the end of the day, assuming it's our responsibility to take it there, we're looking at 4.8 for taking the 18-inch sewer line, right?
Depending on the option, you could be anywhere from 4.8 to 11, 7.5.
I'm saying that the lowest you had was 4.8, does it include the cost of engineering and
Yes.
those things? And for water line, you said, I'm just roughly trying to put a number together.
450, say 500,000.
500, so we're looking at about 6 million. And now, if we don't get the impact fee right now, we're looking at that's our budget. I understand that we get, let's just assume we don't get it, and then.
That's
move
correct.
that. Okay. Thank you.
And I think that's what y'all were after, just order of
Yeah,
magnitude
yeah.
cost.
And so that'd be essentially, because we're on the clock, 5 years, so it'd be $6 million over 5 years if we have no impact fees.
It was two different items. I believe water was 5 years and sewer was 7 years.
That's right, yeah.
Could you address the stoplight, because several of the emails we received was concerned about the stoplight, the traffic at 112 and 264 west.
The stoplight is moving forward. We received a letter back, and the mayor did today, actually, from RDOT, stating that they are looking at it in Little Rock at this time. So we're expecting an answer, hopefully agreeing to our proposal.
Little Rock is quick. They answered back this evening, just before I left the office. And Ben Kerwood said that they agreed that that design would be acceptable.
Okay, well, we're ready to move forward and submit the drawings as we presented.
There's a little bit of guidance there for y'all, but it's very close.
Super.
That guy's good news. Just a couple of questions, kind of in the same vein that I've been asking other people. You know, sir, I understand you're a civil engineer too. You know, in the position we're in, I'm certainly not an engineer, never could have been, you know, and we don't keep Daniel around for his volume skills. You know, he is a very smart, very good engineer, and works for a firm that does a lot of work for municipalities. Daniel's done a lot of work for municipalities, so I'm asking you directly, Dan. I mean, do you think 5 to 7 years is a realistic time frame for us to hook into for us to be able to hook into water and sewer for the Scissortail residents, the current residents there?
It is a reasonable time frame, but we need to start moving.
Okay.
We need to start planning and budgeting.
Needs to be a deliberate
That's
thing
correct.
on the outset.
That's correct. We don't need to wait 2-3 years before we begin.
Do you anticipate once, I mean, because we're thinking about the population growth and everything, do you anticipate water and sewer rates for Cave Springs coming down as the population grows and we connect to NACA in the coming years?
That is a very difficult question to answer globally, but what I can tell you is, we started some water projects back around 2008, 2009, and with some of those projects that we started, water rates had to increase to cover the debt associated with those projects. Due to our population, we had a higher water rate. As the population increased, it's one of the things the mayor talked about several years ago, that he wanted to see the water rates decrease. To the point the population grows and good management of the city's finances, you were able to show a small decrease. Not only show a small decrease, but absorb about a 30% increase from raw water from
61.
or 61%, yes, a total of a 61% increase. So even though we didn't effectively reduce by a large percentage to the user, we were able to absorb that large water rate, if you will, increase. For the sewer, we currently have a flat fee. The flat fee has been very useful for you guys based on the type of system that you've had over the years. But the addition, or going to NACA, we will see some additional fees, but we'll also see a reduction in expenses associated with your current plant operations, your third-party operator. The plan is, once we complete this project, get several months under our belt, is to do another rate study for the sewer and hopefully, transition from a flat fee to a per or usage fee that can be tied to your water rates, like most cities in the area utilize.
So the
Short
answer is it depends.
Yeah.
If you use it.
That's
Population
perfect.
population
Yeah.
growth typically helps
Yeah.
with those rates.
And they will have their same rates on water for 5 years, as long as the agreements are in place, 5 years for water, 7 years for sewer, those are the same rates they'll pay, are the in-city rates at Rogers, is that correct?
That's correct. My understanding, based on the current, the way this is written, current rates for the city of Rogers in-city rates while that agreement's in place.
And then, I mean, obviously they'll get in-city rates for Cape Springs whenever whenever that agreement ends. I've heard a lot about this, guys, a lot of consternation about the water rates. My water bill is $80 a month. I don't really know what people are doing with water out here, but, I've never had a super high water bill in Cape Springs. So, I mean, I just say that as a point of reference. I live in a 3,000 square foot house. I have 2 kids that waste water constantly. So, I mean, I think I have relatively typical water usage, and I haven't seen these astronomical bills that I've heard tell of from some folks, and
With the bills in my neighborhood, so I got a pool, and so a couple months a year, my rate's higher than yours. What I pay is higher when I fill it up anyway. But what I found was the most expensive use of water is when I irrigate the lawn. And it was more than filling up the pool. Like if I was running the irrigation 4 or 5 nights a week, it would cost more than filling up my pool. So I stopped irrigating, and now my water bills are actually really low, except when I fill up the pool.
Summer,
I think my bill last month was like combined, like 40, $45 or something.
Well, if you guys don't believe me, I'll put my water bill in the FOIA request response,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
it's good stuff.
Yeah.
mine's 110 to 125,
Is it?
but I have children.
Yeah.
And,
And my kid moved out.
And your kid moved out, and, if we do irrigation on our lawn, the max in the summer is like 140 for our water.
Yeah, I did irrigation the first year I was here, and there was a big drought, and I think I had like a $500 or $600 water bill. But I got like 8/10 of an acre too.
I don't have that much.
I have one more question for you, man. I mean, and this, I don't know, this may or may not be a helpful question, but is there anything particular about, this Evening Star is the first school that we'll have in Cape Springs. Is there anything about the school that are there special like water and sewer requirements or needs, or is that something that we should have on our radar, or is that just essentially like bringing in any other, not a functional difference between that and my pre-K or something?
Yeah, I'd say it's commercial property.
Okay.
So you're fine.
So we talked about potential development, if that doesn't come up as fast, what strain does that have on our current system if we take on Scissortail and elementary? Just like water and things like that, does it have a strain on it after that 5-year mark?
I would see a strain on the existing water and sewer. The big strain is going to be construction of your sewer line. To me, that's gonna be the challenge. Your water is
That's the
almost
biggest.
there.
Yeah.
The sewer is where we've got to plan accordingly and moving. It's, again,
What's
it's,
a higher bill?
to give you an order of magnitude, we were able to go to NACA within that time period. Get funding, get additional funding, and make that work for a $15 million project to get to NACA. So that maybe gives you a good feel for what we're capable of doing.
And there was, again, just like a 3-year time frame from start. I was here, but I'm just recounting it with you, making it, quantifying it
That's
accurately. About 3 years, yeah.
I'm checking on Justin.
Have you heard from him?
No, I just asked him as ETA.
Could we take a break?
Yeah,
Just,
y'all are,
I wanna ask anyone.
sure.
We're on sewer committee, we sit on water and sewer committee. And one of the things I have noticed at least is it never is the number that you have on a or is it something that adds on to it? So when we say 6 million, for example, right now, we came up with that number, is it safe to say add another million to it to be on the safe side?
That's another good question. In today's environment, we may bid out several projects over the course of 6 months and prices stay flat. And then you may get a surprise on that 7th month or 8th month, but we're not seeing prices go down, but we have seen them stabilize somewhat. The good news is what you have in these areas is a lot of greenfield, which is a little more attractive for you guys rather than a downtown upgrade, if you will. So those prices may hold a little more stable, but we're talking about today's dollars. So let's be clear with that.
That's what-
We're talking about 7 years down the road.
Things have changed. That's what I'd like to be considered when I add some.
My crystal ball is blurry.
But he
Thanks.
said,
Thanks.
he did say something there, and I don't think prices went down, but they're notorious for being conservative on their estimates too. I met with Daniel before we went to NACA, and what was it, 6 weeks before the bid process? And they estimated 17 million, and the bid came in 2 million below what they estimated. So it does happen. It's not something you would ever want to hang your hat on. I'd rather be guessing 6 and have a $4 million surprise than to guess 4 and have a $6 million party.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking, at the end of the day, I'd like to add all the numbers and see how much money would be needed.
Worst case
And then
scenario.
Worst case scenario,
Yeah.
then at that time, we can make an educated decision, are we gonna be able to support this annexation or not? And that's-
Well,
And I did just get word back from Justin, and he said 10 minutes. So if y'all wanna, if you're through and you wanna take a 10-minute break, that would be fine, or if you've got more questions, that's fine too.
I'm good.
Sounds good.
Okay. We'll go ahead and adjourn for temporarily adjourn for 10 minutes.